esteemed viewers. Welcome on Ola Ola. Here we dissect topics that make the buzz in the political space with a little dash of sarcasm and comical analysis. I am Okoyemi Olugbemi. Stay glued on this space. I'll be right back. This week has been a roller coaster of problems, propaganda with the government. We literally caught them in their own heist and carelessness. Paint a mental picture of a thief being caught and red-handed stealing from a cash register in a store. The go too much, the explaining, it go explain tire. That's the scenario with the government right now. I'm struggling to decide where to start from. Matter boku for ground. I guess I'll begin with the COP28 summit. The federal government got themselves in a debacle with the entourage they packed to Dubai. 1,411 delegates went for climate change summit. This week alone, about 10%, 20%, 30% of the budget got wasted on delegate appearance at the summit in Dubai. At least 589, although they are saying it's 422 people, that followed the president directly to the conference, including cabinet ministers and their aides. Civil servants are also on the list, including some officials whose purviews did not cover climate policy, like an interior ministry aide in charge of personal management. There are many climate change advocates and associates that ought to be on that list, but they were denied because they did not have the right connections. It's really disturbing. I understand Tony Elumelu being there. I mean, it's all about business. That aside, what is NLC president doing at COP28? Ijaw community. What is their relevance to the climate matter? How well is Nigeria represented? And what's Tinubu? What's his role there? Seems Tinubu's government used COP28 to lie and embezzle funds to enrich their pockets. These people, they went for Christmas shopping and vacation. The backlash was so intense on the president. To save himself, he had to come back to Nigeria, where summits never finish.
We are committed to critical steps to reduce methane emission by ensuring flood gas are eliminated. There's a huge penalty for that. There's equally a huge incentive to do so. The measures that we're taking here is a welcome development, no doubt about that. And we are with the leadership of UAE for the commitment so far. We are consolidating on the gas export, usage domestically and export for other countries. I can assure you that we will be partner in progress to achieve renewables. We are committed to energy mix. We are providing cooking gas for a large population. We will continue to do that. We've signed off on reduction of methane. We will leverage on new technology, and we hope the two giant nations and the Emirates will be able to help us through. The Africa, that what I know of Africa is the fact that the risking in additional investment and technological know-how, it is very necessary.
Nigeria is wallowing in poverty, yet our leaders spend money, more money than even the United States president and other countries. They spend money on things that don't matter. The majority of the masses are in abject poverty, but they keep wasting money on misplaced priorities. What was the significance of Tinubu's presence at the summit anyways? A woman almost blocked him from a group photo. Now what?
Your Majesty, Excellencies, all distinguished guests, if you wouldn't mind looking towards the media bank all at one time with a big smile, I'd be very grateful. Thank you so much.
She's blocking. I'm sorry. She's blocking the president of Nigeria. Sir, she's blocking the president of Nigeria. So can she move a little bit? Thank you.
Do we all have clear?
Now, what I don't understand is Reno Mokri's business in all of this. Mr. Defense Minister, defender of Tinubu. Watch the video.
We have read your post and we have seen your strong stance condemning media reports of the bogus delegate. What's your new stance with the federal government clarifying the number?
Well, I mean, I did say that anybody who believed that story is a person of below average intelligence. I mean, Sahara reporters who broke that story are a notoriously dishonest media. And it was followed by other, I mean, famously dishonest media, Arise TV for one, and other people. Look, I went on the website for COP28. I did it online. The story went viral. I went there and I registered today as a delegate. Registration is very easy. And anybody, you can take me on, you can actually go there and register. So now Nigeria doesn't just have 1,411 delegates. We now have +1, me. But I'm not going to go. And I'm a private citizen. What they do is that when you register, they ask you to produce your passport of nationality. And when you produce that, your passport of nationality, what happens is that you are now included as a delegate from the country whose passport you hold. So it was patently, I mean, dishonest for Sahara reporters to, I mean, if you look at what Sahara reporters said, they said that presidency funds 1,411 people with public funds. And then for a presidential candidate like Peter Obi to have jumped on that bandwagon, it only shows just his level of intelligence. Because why would you believe that a government would pay for 1,411 people to go on a conference like that? I was a presidential spokesman for 5 years, or rather for 4 years. Before any of these conferences, the presidency writes through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, they write to several businesses, organized private sector, non-governmental organizations, youth groups, all kinds of people to see how many people in Nigeria will be interested to go. It doesn't mean that you're going to fund them. So, I mean, the government, would I say, their rebuttal, it's in order. I still think 422 was pretty large. I think that, given Nigeria's state of affairs now, we could have gone with a much smaller delegation. But that story was patently dishonest.
Okay, then, looking at this figure that's been bandied, are you saying that the other people who were on that delegation are all self-sponsored? And how exactly do you think they found their way there?
No, you see, like when you're having a conference of such nature, for instance, when you had the World Cup in Russia, you didn't even need a visa. If you registered for the World Cup, you got a ticket. That ticket served automatically as your visa. So when you are holding a conference like that, you have protocols that you sign with the United Nations where you temporarily lift travel restrictions to your country. So people who register, for instance, you got people like the chairman of UBA, you had people like the chairman of VUA, they went with several delegations, you had non-governmental organizations, you also had some entertainers, some, would I say, Nollywood people. I mean, if common sense would dictate that those people are private individuals, they would have paid their way. Now, it's going to be an invasion in their privacy to start saying, show us proof that you paid your way. But you can request from your government that how many people, because there's a freedom of information law, which our administration signed into law, you can request from your government, and the government has, in response to that, declared that, okay, we only sponsored 422 people. But here is the thing. Sahara reporters reported that the presidency funded 1,411 people. They lied. Peter Obi jumped on that bandwagon. Now, if you look at Peter Obi, for instance, I mean, this is one in a series of many, would I say, almost hypocrisies that this man engages in. For example, a month ago, two brothers, Chinedu and Omama, were burned to death in Onitsha, where he comes from. Peter Obi did not condemn that. But last year, 12th of May 2022, one person was burned in Sokoto, Deborah Samuels, and immediately within hours, Peter Obi, he just condemned that.
Well, Mr. Mokri,
Yeah.
we'll get to take some reaction.
The quest to neutralize rats goes south as the whole house aired from the pot of soup meant for all the pests. Doesn't make any sense. I'm talking about the recent bombing in Kaduna. The whole nation woke up to a terrible news on Monday because the NFA bombed a Kaduna village. So we thought. Actually, the army took responsibility for the Tundu village bombing, killing over 100 civilians. How can they be so careless? According to them, it was a mistake. One time was a mistake, we understand. But 2 times, they said they were hunting for Boko Haram terrorists, which led to the unfortunate bombing of civilians. The military have indeed gone rogue. According to public policy experts, Professor Usman Yusuf, Tinubu's reaction, his body language towards the bombing news shows that he's uninterested and couldn't care less of the punishable offense of the military. Now, while Tinubu ordered for thorough investigation into the matter, some are of the opinion that the matter will be swept under the carpet. As usual, he only expressed shock.
It's presidential thing, you are hands-on. Mr. President, we don't see him hands-on our security. This is a democracy. We are literally what we are saying, what is looking like our military is not supervised by a civilian authority. They have gone rogue, dropping bombs on our people. They are not answerable to anybody. In the United States, where I live, where we copied this presidential system, the military is subordinate to civilian authority. Where are our ministers of defense? Our ministers of defense have been reduced just to chaperoning service chiefs to security meetings. They are the ones to appear, not uniformed services. They are just there talking, looking like what? So the president has literally outsourced our security to uniformed services, to the military. No, military take orders from civilians in a democracy. And no young operative should be allowed to drop a bomb without escalating. That is why, whatever Mr. President is planning to do, investigation, the military, Mr. President, cannot investigate itself. We've had several incidences of that. Have we had anything about this? Our recommendation, I will continue to raise our voices, there should be an independent judicial panel headed by a retired former CJN. And there should be a former chief of service chief there, with traditional rulers, with religious leaders, with CSOs that are looking at protecting civilians. The military has not been able to investigate itself. So the chief of army staff coming to say we are investigating. No, Mr. President, do the right thing. Bring an independent judicial panel to investigate these occurrences. And suspend the military, suspend all drone activities within that area until this thing is sorted out. Because what it has shown us is that your people are not capable, are not trained enough to protect our people.
Many have also reacted to the bombing of civilians. Mahmoud Jega, while on an interview with Horizon News, averred that there should be an external investigation concerning the army bombing in Kaduna.
The army can do its own internal investigation, but there should be an external investigation because just as he suspected, most probably lethal weapons were left in the hands of relatively junior officers to decide when to fire. Right. Because otherwise, a very experienced officer, not to mention the civilian authorities, and I read many books about American military operations. In critical situations, the Secretary of Defense retains the power to give the order to open fire. And sometimes the president himself will go and sit in the situation room, and then the admirals will open charge, they will show him these are the planes, or these are the ships, and these are the targets. And if he is convinced, then he will give the authority to fire, just to prevent this kind of things. Even, for example, the operation to kill Osama bin Laden. President Obama was sitting in the Oval Office with Secretary of Defense, watching the whole thing and making decisions along the way. And you know, he retained the right to call off the operation at a certain stage if he saw that there are going to be a lot of civilian casualties. Now, in this case, like the military explained, if you are pursuing terrorists, you had drones or other surveillance aircraft, you saw them. Once they run into a community, then you really have to call off the attack and plan for next time.
The government is being lackadaisical, in my opinion, with the investigation. By now, certain individuals should have been arrested or even removed from their posts. Imagine the Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, saying humans make mistakes after unjustly wiping over 100 civilians from the face of the earth. Tell that to their grieving families.
As you know, we operate in a joint operation. Jointness is what we operate on now, and which means everybody has a role to play. The Army has air, because you understand that we have the Army Aviation have been established. The Air Force has its own. And the drones are also, these are enablers that we use for modern warfare. And so the pilots are well trained and well prepared for the operation. I just want to remind individuals that it is a war we're fighting. And mistakes, we make mistakes. As human beings, we all make mistakes, and this is just one of them. It was not deliberate. They were on, after receiving an information on a threat of attack within the general area, and they followed up, and they saw the trait of individuals moving similarly, just the way the terrorists also move. And then they went to congregate under a tree, just the way it is. And I think from there, they felt it was time for them to act, and then they reacted. It was based on intelligence, but I think they just missed it. And we just want to convey to Nigerians to understand that mistakes are human, and it is highly regrettable. And we'll make amends. I will ensure that we look back and see where these mistakes came from, and then to be able to make sure that we get them properly and to avoid such mistakes. It is our duty to protect civilians, not to harm them, especially our own citizens. It is highly unfortunate. This is what we call similarly to blue on blue, when you hit your own inadvertently, and it is highly regrettable.
As usual, they think the crumbs from the national cake will shut people off from seeking justice. The governor, Matawale, visited the injured victims, donating 10 million naira.
We are here, the whole Ministry of Defense and the service chiefs were directed by Mr. President, the Commander-in-Chief of Armed Forces, the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. He directed all of us to come to this hospital to visit the victims of this unfortunate incident that happens of bombing at Tudunbiri in the local government Kaduna State, which we have assessed some of the victims, we have seen them, and the ministry will take care and charge of all the bills of these victims. And arrangement is going to be made to make sure that these incidents will never occur again, inshallah. Well, you know, we are not going to relent to our actions, because these criminals, we must defeat them by God's grace. So we are going to continue fighting the criminals till we succeeded on fighting against banditry and other criminalities in this country. Therefore, it is just an unfortunate incident that happens, and God has already destined that this will happen, and it has happened. All we do is to pray for the deceased who already gone, for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless them with Al-Jannah to Firdaus, and for those in the hospital to have a quick recovery.
What's 10 million naira going to do for 70 injured persons? What if they need a new leg? I think it's a good time to talk about Wike's proposed 15 billion naira budget for Shetima's residents. Make not a fair God now, billions, and you are not building from the ground up. Even though, Abba, for just renovation, 15 billion naira. Even Bajan Biamila's residence cost 10 billion naira. What manner of renovation would take over 10 billion naira. What sort of computer software costs 10.1 billion naira at a time the entire economy is on its knees? Meanwhile, Nigeria's Vice President Kashim Shettima has responded to comments made by the presidential candidate of the Labour Party in the 2003 general election, that's Mr. Peter Obi, over the proposed 15.5 billion naira budgeted by the federal government, to construct a new official residence for the vice president. Reacting to the criticism, Shettima on Tuesday, December 5, in a release issued by his media aide, accused Peter Obi of dancing naked in a public square, trying to carry the attention of those who care to listen to his falsehood and warped opinions about waste. It's a battle of the politicians on social media over national cake matter. Now mine no go touch ground. Too much explanation. Let's take a closer look at the 2024 budget. It's been discovered that a certain percentage of the 2024 budget is for jaye enjoyment, renewed hope in the mud. The 2024 Nigerian budget proposal has shown that President Tinubu and his vice Shettima would spend 10.13 billion naira on meals and travels. That is food and traveling. Junketing out of the country. Yay! Kikiski. They don't run on streets. The 27.5 trillion naira budget proposal is still being examined by the National Assembly, though. And I wonder, is this budget favorable to the masses or the greedy lots? According to the budget proposal, Tinubu will spend about 638.5 million naira on local trips, not international, and 6.9 billion naira on foreign trips, totaling 7.6 billion naira. Shettima's travel will go up 1.8 billion naira, out of which 680.4 million naira is for local journeys and 1.2 billion naira for international trips. Hey, we don't enter harm for this country. Feeding for the offices of Tinubu and Shettima was allocated for 660.5 million naira. Of this amount, 287.8 million naira is for the president's office and 372.6 million naira for the vice president's office. Ha! Waiting them they chop. What are your thoughts? Let's see it in the comment section, because I don't understand what they are eating and all the travels they are going for that cost billions of naira. The fiscal document also shows that the feeding of the animals at the Aso Rock Zoo, tagged wildlife conservation, will go up 201.4 million naira. It's for animals, or not human beings. That's not for the over 200 population in Nigeria. Over 200 million is for animals, and they're distributing 8K for each household for over 200 million Nigerians, and animals are getting over 200 million naira for feeding. That's all. The renovation of the president and vice president quarters at the State House will go up 800 million naira, 500 million naira for Tinubu, and 300 million naira for Shettima. It's crazy. In the 2003 supplementary budget approved last month, the presidency voted 13.5 billion naira to renovate President Tinubu and Vice President Kashim Shettima's official residences in Lagos and Abuja. The approved expenditure was part of the 28 billion naira voted for State House in the 2.176 trillion naira supplementary budget. The breakdown showed that 4 billion naira will be spent for the renovation of residential quarters for Mr. President, renovation of Aguda House to go up 2.5 billion naira, renovation of Dodan Barracks, the official residence, all the residences, 30.5 billion naira, totaling 30.5 billion naira. In the 2024 budget proposal, honorarium and sitting allowance for the president and his vice president were pegged at 152.3 million naira and 67.3 million naira respectively. Powering of generators in the State House will cost over 37 million, while 260.8 million naira is earmarked for electricity charges. Baja Biamila, Tinubu, Shettima, Wike, una well done. For this purpose, they removed fuel subsidy. Just take a look at the deplorable state of police barracks. No huge budgets for that though. With all these dilapidated buildings and roads, look at what one government official is using to renovate his official residence. Yeah, they smell. These people don't run our streets big time. In a nation where a large percentage of the masses can't afford 3 square meals or basic things, this budget is preposterous. Just when you think you've seen it all, APC brings out another bunny in the hat. The most interesting scene played out at an event in Nasarawa State. Folashade Tinubu, the Iyaloja General of Lagos and daughter of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, was introduced as the Queen of Nigeria at a recent event in Nasarawa State. Mrs. Tinubu made headlines in May after updating her X profile to include the title First Daughter of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Watch the video.
Your Excellencies, distinguished personalities, ladies and gentlemen, we have the most special guest of honor, a role model, the first daughter of the Federation, the Iyaloja General of Lagos, Queen Mama, the beautiful, most beautiful Queen of Nigeria. Please, let's put hands together to welcome her with love.
Queen of Nigeria, wow, how did we get here? Before I draw the curtains, can anyone tell me what's going on with Dino Melaye? Guess is holding a revival on behalf of Nigeria. It's desperately needed. Anyways, that's it from Ola Ola today. See you on the next episode. I am Opeyemi Olubemi. Stay safe.